Let's see. It says we're live.
And we're
Right.
live.
Yeah, so I
Alright.
guess that
Hey.
makes us live.
Hello, everybody. Smirk is here again. Today, I thought we would have a conversation with some veterans and honoring them by giving them a platform. So I have Jess with me here today, my gaming buddy. Say hi.
Hey, how we doing, people?
And I have Marty here. And
Yep,
yeah,
I
you-
am
yourself,
a
I guess.
I am a child of a military family, and actually a war/military historian. So I have a fair amount of knowledge on the subject. Not a lot of experience, but a fair amount of knowledge.
Cool.
I think knowledge is pretty good to have too. First-hand seeing eye knowing is not always the best. It's good to have it, but knowledge will always be better. Everybody wondering, I'm a retired military. I'm a first sergeant, and I served all the way to 1983. I've been retired all these years, and I'm here to talk to Smirkus and put an insight on some details that I can.
Cool. And you already told us there's certain stuff you can talk about and certain stuff you can't.
Yes.
So, well, how did it all get started? Would be my first question, I guess.
On my end,
Yeah.
I got forcibly drafted by a certain military, served there for about 3 years, and I acquired a certain skill that other branches liked. I'm a long range shooter. I'm pretty good at what I do. I can shoot a quarter at a half a mile without even blinking.
Cool.
Yeah. You give me a target, I'll shoot it. One of the few orders I always got. We need this done, we need this shot, we need this. I'm like, all right. What it looks like, where it is, and where I'm going.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of shooting, is there anything? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you have taken a human life. Is there what goes through your mind when you have to pull that trigger?
Oh, that was my question
It,
as well.
it's a little tricky. It's not exactly what goes through my mind when I pull the trigger. I've been raised. My grandfather is retired military and designed planes for the U.S. Air Force, and my father didn't serve the military, but he also designed planes for the U.S. Force. And I grew up in a military manner, so the way I grew up was the fact that whatever is asked to be done, get it done. There's no thinking. There's no rhetorical remarks. There's no question. No comments. It has to be done, and that's it. So if I'm being told to wash the roof of the house, I need to climb it and clean it. So the military wasn't that far off or different.
You kind of cut out there for a little bit, but I think we got the gist.
So it was basically that way. Not much change. They say we need this done. They tell me who the target or what the target is, and I do my part.
Now, have you spent any time in less than favorable conditions, like i- in the mud, in the rain, in some hot, sweaty jungles, or anything like that?
Oh, plenty. Unfortunately, plenty. More than I would like to remember, but yeah. Um, I spent one mission in this South American country, and I spent 4.5 days in the jungle with grass that was about I'll say about a foot and a half tall, and I have to hide in this grass, even though there's nothing around me for like 2 miles.
Mm.
And it rained for 3.5 days, and I'm laying on this grass. I'm laying on this, mud, and I can't move. If I need to pee, that's where I'm going because I can't move. If I move, I might be seen, and everything goes kaput.
Hmm.
And this thing is supposed to take a maximum of 19, maybe 22 hours. It took 4.5 days. So my mission ended up being extended, plus another a day and a half to find a way to extract me after the fact. And that was rain during the night and intense sun during the day. So I mean, I would be soaking wet at night. It comes noon, I was dry like a prune and burning up at the same time. And with the clothes all sticking on me, you got dirt, you got dust, and you got rain. You get, and it had plenty of. I can't remember if there were toads or frogs. These things were all hopping around everywhere. So
Did you have
those are
enough
when
rations for those 4 days, though?
huh?
Did you have enough rations for those 4 days? Or you just had this?
Yeah, we tend to pack for missions a time and a half of MREs.
Yeah.
So when it said about a day's worth, that's about 4 packs of MREs because we had the biscuit ones. At least that's what we call them. Now they have the little, open up, you put water, gets nice and hot. No, ours was a freaking brick. And you chewed on this like a power bar, and that's all you got. You just get different flavors. Oh, this one's rice and beans, but it's a par bar. This one is, macaroni cheese. It's a par bar. This is a hamburger. It's a freaking par bar, but it just had different tastes, and it all had the same texture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had enough. I had about a week's worth of this stuff because it was light. It was small. It fit in my pack. My pack had a cover for the night, so I can cover myself and not be seen, even if I, move around when I sleep. One magazine of extra ammo, the MREs, 2 books, handgun, and well, the rifle just goes across. So,
What kind of rifle were you sporting?
I normally use a Barrett. I use a
Barrett
long
makes
range
good
50
stuff.
caliber. I have mine from the service. It's at my house, nice and pretty on the wall.
Did they deactivate it? Did they fill it with concrete?
Filled with concrete. My
Uh,
gun?
yeah.
No.
I know a lot of times in American servicemen that when they retire, they'll let you keep your gun, but they'll put concrete in the chamber to deactivate it.
Yes, they normally do that. But by the time I retired, I didn't retire directly from the military. And besides, when I retired, I promised them that I would take care of the gun, and I surrendered my locking pin and my trigger. And there's no bullets in my house. If I have any bullets, they'll never be for my Barretts. My Barretts is one thing I retired at. I put it away. I do not want to use that gun ever again. Unless it's a catastrophe, that thing's going to stay right on my wall where it is. That gun has a long, long history, and I would hate to have somebody playing with it because they had some smart idea.
Yeah. Actually told me that some people actually did that shit, huh?
Yes, not with the Barretts, but they have pulled out some of my other rifles, and they pointed around. So I took all the triggers off all the guns in my house, every single one I have in display, and I still locked them up behind glass. Because even then, I still don't trust people because a person that's smart, people are just stupid.
Yeah, back when I had my gun, I tip, I I lived pardon me. I lived with a roommate I trusted at the time, so I kept it in my nightstand. But I mean, uh, nobody nobody knew it was there. Two people knew it was there. That was me and my roommate, because I kind of felt like if shit had hit the fan in the house, he should know it was there. But other than that, nobody knew it was there. I didn't trust anybody to like not take my gun, and I just kept it right there in the pardon my stutter, but I kept it right there in the nightstand for just easy access and easy use. So I can kind of understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, I mean, people say, "Oh, it's the same thing. It's not a big deal." But yes, it is a big deal. It'll never be not a big deal. There's no way.
Yep.
So people, I mean, I had people in my house visit me and get offended by how my guns are locked up, and I don't even let them look at them with their hands,
Mhm.
even though there's no trigger.
Yeah, I
Because
got
you can do whatever you want to. Once you pull that gun out, the first thing they're gonna do is start pointing that thing to a wall, to the ceiling, and
at
then
you.
to their feet, or they're gonna look inside the trigger gun. And I'm like, you people, it's like a 5-year-old that just found out that a frog can jump, and you want to pull the leg to see if it hurts. I'm like, no, you guys stay away from my gun. Go outside, play with the dog, play with my pet.
Yeah, I got
Maybe
chastised real bad once on vacation in America with my family. I like shot a little bird, and my uncle just was yelling at me, and I was afraid he was going to hit me. Of course, he didn't. But yeah, I was just like, "Oh my god, okay, got it."
yeah. So yeah, guns are not toys, and my opinion is people don't really know how to use them. I've seen
Yeah,
it over and over.
yeah. I grew up in the country, so I have had an extensive experience with guns, and yeah, too few people know the respect that you have to have, not only for yourself and for your fellow humans, but also the gun itself. They they lose all respect for any kind of reserve or ability to know that this is a tool for ending life. That all goes out the window when they get their hands on this weapon, and it is not something I like to see with an inexperienced gun owner. Like my first experience with a gun was firing a 12 gauge shotgun, put me right on my ass, and almost deafened me because, like a freaking genius, nobody decided to put uh, uh, oh,
The
what the hell do they
silencer
call?
or the earmuff,
Yeah, yeah,
the earplugs.
yeah. Earmuffs, exactly. Yeah, nobody decided to put earmuffs on the little kid, but from that moment forward, I had all the respect for the gun, and I don't see it as much as I feel like I should in this, the current year of 2016.
Yeah, but it seems like this year of 2016, there's some really stupid people anyway. So. But that's not what we're here for today. So.
No, we'll
Also,
leave
I
that for
wanted
another
to
day.
mention I have some links down in the description of the stream that has some charity organizations. One is Gary Sinise Foundation.org.
The
Um,
the Gary Sinise Foundation. He has done more work for veterans than I think any other celebrity alive. This guy just oozes respect for the servicemen, and I can't give him enough love for that, because I mean the man loves his veterans, and I've actually I haven't donated to his specific organization, but if I had extra charity money, I probably would, because I mean he does so much good stuff with his time and fame.
yeah, Gunny also told me he's Lieutenant Dan.
Oh yeah. He's Lieutenant Dan. He's played several veterans.
Actually, he played quite a few military personnel.
Ah, okay.
Plus, he plays was it NCIS New York?
Oh yeah.
Yep. He was like
Inside
New York guy.
Yeah, great program. I watched it until it went poof. No, he
Hmm.
does like the veterans. He helps them a lot. He meets with them. You know.
Cool. And then there's also the VA side, of course. You
Oh
can.
yes, the United States Veterans Association does not get nearly the funding it should from our government, and even though most of its funds do come from our government, it's not enough, and it does take its charity donations, and I have donated to that so many times. I mean, I take at least $500 to $1,000 out of my income tax returns, and I donate it to the VA because these guys, I mean, they put their life on the line for me. I can't give enough to them.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then
I
we
mean,
have the other one, the Wounded Warrior Project.
Yes, I have not donated to the Wounded Warrior as much as I'd like to. I have donated a few times, but typically my money goes to the VA. But the Wounded Warrior, they help those most affected by war. You know, if some guy gets his arm blown off by an IED, it's the Wounded Warrior who gets him a prosthetic. If a guy is mentally damaged, it's the Wounded Warrior that gets him an aid that helps him with his kids or whatever. I wish I could donate more to them, but I can't. But I mean, if anybody's watching this and you feel like giving to a charity, give to the Wounded Warrior. They do so much good.
yeah, they do. They do help a lot. And like you said, the part of the physical damage from war, Wounded Warriors definitely way up on the charts on that. The VFW, they help, but they can only help so far as the money that they receive, and they try to do as best they can with that little bit of money. They don't receive as many donations as the Wounded Warrior. The Wounded Warrior Foundation does give more donations, but the VFW has been around so long and helped generations. So I mean, they've been around longer than I have, and they still help. I got friends that are grandparents, and they still go there, and they still get their help, and they get to meet other soldiers, or even sometimes old soldiers from the same troops. So either one of
Yeah.
those, the VFW is one of my favorites, but the top one for me is Gary Sinise because he's one person that dedicates so much of his time to this.
Yeah, I mean, I have infinite respect for Gary Sinise. The man has done such good work.
Sweet. So, Marty, have you seen your family go through some stuff once they came
Um,
back?
fortunately, I have not experienced the tragic loss that comes with having family in the military. Although back in 1995, my uncle Bill was serving in the United States Air Force, and he was stationed in Saudi Arabia at the United States military base over there, and they experienced a terror attack. We heard about it on the news. We didn't even hear from him. So our first thought is, oh my God, Uncle Bill is dead. He was involved in this terror attack. I mean, because we didn't hear a call, we didn't hear a word, nothing. It was silent for probably about the first 12 hours after the terror attack, and nothing. And like I said, we haven't experienced the loss that comes with having family in the service, but he did call. He let everybody know that he was okay, but for that 10 to 12 hours, it was scary for all of us. We assumed he was dead. And that was the moment actually where I decided that I was going to join the military and I was going to dedicate my life to these men and women, but I sadly failed the psych eval, and I could not join. I was excluded from joining. But ever since then, I've I've dedicated my life to learning about them, honoring them, and doing everything in my power to help them.
Cool.
And don't feel bad for not joining. And I tell this to people: joining is only half of the thing. Planning on joining and trying to joining is one of the hardest things that anybody can do when you don't have to serve the military. When you're in a country like the United States, you don't have to serve the military. You choose to serve the military. That's a huge step. By just choosing and going, even if you fail, you have done more than 100 other people, a
Yep.
thousand other people. People say, "Oh, I'm going to do this," but they don't. And when they do, it's not really military they're talking about. They're talking about a sandwich, a movie. Military, it's a whole different level of decision.
Oh yeah.
Marriage is easier than telling yourself you're going to join the military. So I tell people, don't take for granted. You thought of it. You signed the paper. You got in. Fantastic. I'm your new best friend. You tried. You signed up. You didn't make it for whatever reason. I'm still your best friend because you already went further than a lot of people. I can count entire cities that I've been through that not one person even thought of joining.
Well, I
So
did
yeah,
think
Marty,
about
I have
joining
my
the
respect
service.
for Marty for trying and he didn't make it. In this point of view, I'm glad you didn't make it, Marty, because there are things out there nobody should go through. War is one of the dumbest things anywhere, but it's out there.
And this is why I spend so much of my extra money and time, pardon my stutter, studying these things because I feel like there isn't enough respect, isn't enough help, isn't enough of anything for anybody who has experienced those terrible things. Because this is the dark part of life. There are horrible things in this world we experience as a species, and more horrible things that individuals experience that don't get enough credit and don't get enough love and don't get enough help. And this is why I am gladly doing this stream with a smile on my face, because people like yourself and others do need that recognition and do need to have a platform to speak about anything they want. And thank you very much for your service.
I have no regrets in my decisions. Once I got into the service and I started doing my part, I had no regrets on any one of the orders I ever received over the years. My friends did not be so lucky on accomplishing some of them. I had a friend being court-martialed because he decided to deny the order to our CO. I won't deny an order. It's an order. That's my understanding. You tell me it's done, but seeing him denying the order, knowing the result on our level that court-martial will be the only answer, and he still did it. I was one of his witness when he was court-martialed, and he was exonerated. But when they saw my point of view being who I was at the time, that allowed him to go home instead of being locked up in some of the military prisons that U.S. government has that are unmentioned. And they're going to stay like that because I like it like that. It'll get me in trouble.
Yeah.
But yes, I shot some shots. I shot vehicles. I shot people. I mean, again, orders were orders. I wasn't there to debate them. I was there to accomplish them. And the only reason why I stayed in the military so long because the set of skills that I have allowed me to accomplish things that other people couldn't do. Not because I'm a military brat or because I follow orders blindly. Because the set of skills that I have, they keep telling me that's extraordinary skill. Not that I consider shooting people an extraordinary skill.
Yeah, I think it would. It's hard. I still think it would be hard to do though. But maybe that's also because I'm a civilian. Like, or at least taking life should never be easy. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, we can backtrack through history. The Spartans, probably the most famous warrior culture in human history. Even they had a pre-battle ritual. Now, it sounds kind of gay in our through our modern perspective, but they would wash each other, they would oil each other, they would do each other's hair. Yes, again, it sounds incredibly gay, but not only are you grooming these your fellow warriors, but you're also psychologically going through a process to help you process what you're about to do. You're talking with them, you're feeling with them, you're empathizing with them. You may not see them tomorrow. You may not see the same person tomorrow because you are going to be doing horrible things. And this ritual stayed throughout the entire Spartan culture. Things came, that things went, but that stayed because of its impact on the individual soldier's mind to help ease them into and out of these horrible things that they were about to experience.
Yeah.
I mean, my family is we're Norwegians, we're Vikings. We also had our rituals. A little strange, a little strong, a little angry. But it comes down to just about the same matter, just with more anger. Vikings used to tend to pull out rage, anger, for something they don't know what it is or who or even why, but they'll get angry, they'll get ready, call out the spirits of war, put a prayer. Yeah, Vikings did pray a lot. And go into battle and kill everything in sight.
Take the women.
Yeah, don't forget they used to burn down the villages too.
Yep. So, would you say that like the recent wars differ a lot from the wars that you were in?
Yeah, these are more, I would say, more precise. They don't take as long. Some of the decisions can be done in a matter of a couple hours, excuse me, instead of days. And not, these days, mostly just fly a plane over the place. One is normally recon, the other one is surveillance, and the third one is normally a hit. After that, or between that, there'll be a couple troops sent in, do a ground surveillance or a ground pickup. And by then you already know what's going on. You can figure out everything else that's going on, and you can actually end it. I don't know about these days. A lot of things change. I can't tell you because the internet offers so much information on just about everything, including things shouldn't be shared.
Yeah.
You can actually find certain websites in the internet that have complete military protocols. I don't not recommend to have that out there. I actually recommended them to put it down, and I got no answer, and I don't want to know what kind of answer they're going to come up with. They might be knocking on my door instead of making a phone call.
Wow.
Yeah. So there are differences, yes, a lot of differences. But these days, it's computers. It's the groups, even the troops that they send in, even for recon, they're much bigger than my days. My days, the groups were three, four, five the most.
What, five
I know
soldiers?
troops that send in, yeah.
Hmm.
We used to go in very small groups. These days, I think they send an average of 9 to 12.
Hmm.
Also, not hidden information. You can ask any soldier, and you might know the answer, unless you need clearance for this kind of information these days.
Yeah.
But we used to do it in smaller groups. It was really quick. Go in, get out. It would take anything between 2 and 12 hours, depending the distance we're dropped off and the distance we're going to get picked up, and how much surveillance do we need? How much information do we need? Do we need to know the size of the building? Do we need to know how many rooms? Count how many windows? Total number of personnel, or we just need the skeleton personnel? Do we need to know if the person we're looking for is actually in the building, or do they come to the building? Now the information they gather, I don't know what it is. I don't want to ask.
Yeah.
Uh, my electronic cigarette died.
Now,
Any thoughts, Marty?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was going to ask you any thoughts.
Well, probably the major difference from modern soldiers to the more ancient soldiers is we are slowly sliding away from the veneration of our warriors. Whereas, I mean, look back at any ancient culture, from Egypt to the Vikings, all the way even up to the mercenary armies of Renaissance Italy. They all venerated their warriors. Even the lowest common soldier is celebrated by his family and everyone else. Monuments were built to them, and even though we still do that today, we're slowly drifting away from this, which is very important to the psyche of the soldier. They need to know, they need to be reassured that these horrible things that they experienced were not done in vain, that the lives they took, the lives they lost, the lives they saw being taken were not done in vain. And
Oh, dear God.
we are quickly drifting away from this to a hating of the servicemen a mentality. We saw this in the 70s, just after Vietnam. We saw the hatred of these returning soldiers from the baby boomer hippie crowd, and
that shit pissed me off.
yeah, and that was the explosion of the anti, I'm sorry, the explosion of the PTSD. That's where we saw PTSD in such high numbers, because these men were coming back with this damage, and they were not being reassured. They were not being told that it's okay. You did the right thing. They were being told that they were monsters. And after you've done these things, you begin to believe that you're a monster. So the PTSD exploded. And we quickly learned from that. We experienced that surge of patriotism through the late 70s, into the 80s, into the early 90s, but now we're dropping off again. And we're seeing this explosion of PTSD again. And it's our fault. Well, I mean, not my fault specifically, because I do everything I can to fight that, but our higher-ups, our government, who are slowly pushing the soldiers by the wayside, and these men have to live with this.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about that, I don't really follow the debates and all that, but who would be like the veteran candidate this year in this election?
Well, Hillary says one thing, Trump says the same thing. It's hard to know who to trust. I'm a Trump guy, and I'm trying to look at this through a abstract eye through an objective eye. But if I were to say who do I believe more, I would say I believe Trump more because Hillary's come on record so many times as being an outright liar. So
Yeah.
I would believe Trump more, but they're both saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just yelling differently.
Just to get the veterans vote, probably.
Well, the veterans' point of view, it's a little bit trickier because the thing with the
Sorry about that.
with Hillary Clinton affected a lot of people that did service. I mean, this is classified information that a civilian's reading. Yeah, state senate or whatever position she had, which I don't really follow politics because it becomes a mess.
Oh yeah.
Should not be in any hands besides the head of security, the admiral, and the president. Should be a handful. I mean, literally a handful. 3-4 people, 5 the most. And Hillary has his emails at her house. How do you want to get the favor of the military when you're reading military emails or any other sort of emails that should not be in your hands? Yeah, I understand your husband is the former president. It's still for his eyes. There is such a classification as for your eyes only. You do not have clearance. Don't read it. Please don't have it sent to you.
Well,
She did
have clearance. The problem was that she was storing these classified emails on her own private server, which was not nearly as secure as, say, the NSA server or the State Department server or any server that the government itself had access to. She was storing these classified emails on a private server that could be a lot more easily hacked than where they should have been.
Yes. Yes, but see, that's the problem. Like I said, she had clearance. Did she have clearance for all of them? You're probably right, she did. But personal, government, 2 words will never get together and mix. She had it in personal. And then on the other side, we have Trump. And I understand Trump's point of view on how he say things, that the military should take better action, that they should take stronger action. I thought of it many times myself. But here comes the point. You have to remember there are people on that other side of the wall that you want to attack. Are they all guilty of one's action?
No.
If you say yes, then you got to remember that this side of the wall might be attacked and they might have the same idea. Like, well, they attacked us, they hurt us, so we'll attack them. But it's one person making a decision for many. Do the many deserve what's happened to them because of one? Never. There is no war in history that will clarify that the action of one is the suffering of many. The reason why people go to war is to stop the one and save the many. These days, it's the opposite. These days, it's hurt the most and hopefully you hit the one. And the many that suffered, too bad. They were collateral damage or whatever pretty word they want to use these days. And
well,
Trump,
I mean, sadly in the Middle East, they don't. The jihadists don't identify themselves. They don't wear a uniform. This is why I have infinite respect for our servicemen, because when you put on that uniform, you are saying, I am the person that you shoot at to fight a war against this nation. And the jihadis don't wear uniforms. They dress in civilian clothes. And when they do that, they're putting the lives of everyone around them on the line, because you need to know who you're supposed to shoot at. And when they don't identify themselves as the warriors, as the fighters, they are jeopardizing everybody else's life, because any one of them can be this person that you're supposed to be shooting at.
Yes.
Yep.
And then comes the part, it's like, okay, who do I trust? Do I trust civilians? Do I trust military personnel that works with my military personnel? Do I trust a friend that I know that's on the other side? And it comes down to, you don't know who to trust. You don't know how this really goes. And it becomes a very problematic, and to some people a very traumatic decision. And Trump is dealing this like a box of tomatoes. We're going to switch these things around, and whatever gets smashed, we're the winner. I don't agree with Trump's military view on anything. If Trump's idea of anything military is what he says, I'm completely against it, because it's not the smartest decision. It should never come to those kind of decisions. And kind of thank goodness at the same time that he cannot make those decisions. Presidents only can apply certain details. Congress and other personnel from the government decide.
I didn't know that.
Because
The president said we are going to war, then we are going to war.
Well, the United States president is the commander in chief, effectively the highest ranked person in the United States military, all branches. Ideally, the Congress is supposed to act as the check and balance to that high-ranking authority. However, in practice, the U.S. president can say, all right, we're going to invade, and then the army invades. However, the Congress is supposed to pay for these wars. So if the president says, let's invade Canada, and the Congress doesn't approve a budget for that war, then guys aren't getting paid, material isn't getting produced and delivered, and the war is going to suffer.
Yes. So yeah, he can do the command, but without money, you're not going to go that far. I mean, send a bunch of troops. Yeah, they're going to go because they're receiving orders. That's what they're doing. They're soldiers. But once they get there, they start doing their part. Obviously, they want to get paid. They have family members. They have bills. Whatever thing is going on, they see no money. Now, what you have an enormous amount of dedicated, trained soldiers, angry either with their country or with the president. And either one of those decisions of anger is bad.
Yeah.
So that's why wars are not normally started until Congress signs off on it, unless it's a complete disaster. It's something that was so terrible that Congress doesn't even want to think about making the decision. They'll just go with it. And that's why the president normally has a person next to them to advise them. And normally this is a high-ranking military personnel that will advise them exactly against that, in case the president is thinking of that. Excuse me. Because the president can say, oh no, they destroyed the Twin Towers. We should invade the country, carpet bomb it, turn the whole country into a nice little, sandbox. The first person that's going to say something against it will be his military advisor. And I'm pretty sure he has the same amount of list that I do. That's about 15 things why you should not do that.
Yeah.
So. And again, Congress might sign up on it. It's like, oh no, they deserve it. They destroyed our towers. They killed, 10,600 people and so on and so on. But that one person will be there. It's like a military conscience, even though military is there to war. But even they can see that it's a bad decision in all directions. And I'm pretty sure Marty will with me in some of this.
Yeah, the idea is that, and and Sun Tzu spoke about this. By the way, anybody who's listening, go read The Art of War, for the love of God.
I still need to get that book, man.
Yeah, it's free. If you have yourself a tablet or a smartphone, you can find it for free on Google Books. Now, you won't find the analysis of it, like from, if anybody is writing about The Art of War, you won't find any of that, but you will find the hard, raw Art of War for free on Google Books. I recommend everybody read it, because applying it to life, in every aspect of life, can 89% of your goals, because it really is just an analysis of conflict, not just open war. I mean, and life is conflict. So I recommend everybody read that book, study it, commit it to memory. But as I was saying, Sun Tzu spoke in The Art of War about being informed. Know thy enemy, know thyself. And for the love of God, that is the greatest advice any commander, any general could ever get. Because if you aren't aware of all 100% of the variables, you will make mistakes. Now, of course, making mistakes comes from being human, but to be fully informed, as an American president should be, as a Secretary of Defense should be, as a 4-star general should be, you need every bit of variables. And that is how our presidency is set up. You have the president, you have the vice president, you have the Secretary of Defense, you have your 4-star generals, you have all the way you have the commander of the Navy, the commander of the Army, and all the way down to the private. Everybody is supposed to keep the person above them and the person below them as informed as possible. And of course, at the higher levels, you have your checks and balances. Each one of those is so very important to the functioning of a military.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that article that was going around Twitter really pissed me the fuck off about this military person is wearing blackface. That's racist. It's like, fuck you, you dumb cunts.
What kind of stupid crap is that?
Oh, man, it's the social justice warrior crap.
Oh, I don't pay attention to that.
Some guy in the British Royal Army was photographed in camo paint. Yep. And of course, in order to make your face darker, to take the shine off, to make you less visible to the human eye, of course, it's going to be mostly black. And the social justice warriors see a guy in black face makeup, and he's like, he's doing blackface, is so racist. And they lose their freaking minds over it.
Yeah, well, they are the ones that are giving them the rights to say that kind of shit. They should be fucking respectful to them.
Right. That's like telling a bunch of militia guys that they should go home and raise a family and build a city instead of doing backyard training and calling themselves soldiers. Same stupidity, same level of crap.
What do militias do anyways?
Yeah, trust me, it's a long story. I have a question for Marty.
Yes, sir.
Marty, you've been studying military history for some time now, right?
Yes, sir. Pretty much my entire life, from teenager to adulthood.
Don't even get him started on the Romans, man.
Yeah, I'm insane with the Romans.
Oh, yeah, no, I can tell. I'm looking at the picture. No, my question would be, what do you know exactly about Blackwater?
Blackwater, the private military contractor that was contracted out to aid during Iraqi freedom, that got a little trigger happy.
Yes. You do know they changed their name these days, right?
Yeah, I heard about this probably maybe about 6 to 8 months ago. I don't remember what they changed it to.
It's been a little bit longer than that, but right now they
No,
call
no,
it in.
I was saying that I heard about it 6 to 8 months ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, they changed their name a little bit more longer than that, and now they call themselves the Academy.
Oh,
Well, that's kind of
And
insulting to anybody who went to West Point.
yes, well, their lead is in Denver right now, and anybody watching this stream that is military, I'm going to let you know right now that the Academy has been trying to poach live active members of the U.S. military service, plus others. And by any regulations of the DoD, you cannot poach active members, and they're doing it. Right now, Academy it's not only a mercenary company or private contractors, as they say. Right now, they're trying to do a government-sanctioned militia. How's that sound?
terrible.
That sounds like a good idea on paper. To me, I hear. Um, an ANCAP, an anarcho-capitalist ideal military where there's a competition to the military, but in practice, I hear competition between militaries, and that never works out well because I don't think they know what competition between militaries is called. It's called war for anybody who wants to know.
Yeah. So yeah, they been approaching and trying to poach active military services members. And I spoke to a few of them, and they came asking me what kind of decisions they should do, and I told them if my personal decision on this is not join. Yes, they'll give you training. They want you to train personnel. The Academy poaches active members that are qualified in certain aspects in the military, weapons, construction of weaponry, training, physical conditions, and whatnot. Now, the reason why you want to hire these people is so you can train people to be better at what they believe they know. And one of these soldiers came to me and asked me, he's like, what do you think? And disregards not, I don't ask how much military gets paid these days because I don't want to insult anybody by saying that's too little or that's great. But let's say that this military personnel that came to me gets paid, I don't know, $50,000 a year, which it's a ridiculous number, but I'm using it as an example. And Academy said they will hire him to do the same job he does for the military, but paying him $1.2 million a year. And he asked me, and I said,
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
well, I don't know how much the military offers, how much they pay their soldiers these days. My pay was different than today. I mean, I've been retired for longer than probably you've been alive, but
That was forever
they
ago.
did offer they did offer him $1.2 million a year as his new salary if he joined the Academy. And my recommendation to him was still a no. For
Isn't
as
there-
much money is great, you chose the military for a reason. You should not be leaving the military for money. And I tell everybody that. Do not leave what you want to do for what you want to spend.
I'd
Money
say
can buy
that's-
great things. Money can't buy everything.
I'd say that's a pretty good statement for anything, though, really. When it comes
It
to
is.
money.
Marty?
Yes, sir.
So if somebody's being approached, like you said, you grew up in a family of military personnel, and they get approached by Academy, try to get hired. What would be your opinion on that?
I don't have any problem with the idea of a private military contractor. However, at the end of the day, you've taken an oath to defend the most important document in my mind. I mean, I understand there are other nations out there and people have other priorities, but in my humble opinion, the single most important document on earth, the Constitution of the United States, and once you take that oath to defend that document, you keep that oath, or you become scum to me.
Yep.
Exactly.
There was another thing I kind of wanted to touch about.
Yeah.
In the Netherlands here, we had a politician kind of bringing up the idea of a mandatory draft kind of thing,
Okay.
saying that it would be pretty good for a lot of kids these days, and maybe also good for the I don't know, for the cohesion of the country, I guess. And you know, I didn't really think that's a bad idea necessarily, to give young kids. They don't know what the fuck to do with their life anyway. Why not go into the service for a couple of years? And even further than that, I'm kind of like, I think everybody, especially with, like, I don't know, like the social justice warrior pussification of the Western world, it would be actually very good for people to at least have a basic training, you know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll let the servicemen go first.
All right. So I've been to countries where drafting for military is mandatory when they turn 18.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a few points that people have to keep in mind when you're forcing somebody into something. They might like it. They might keep it as a career. They might honor it. The question is, what you do if they hate it? There's nothing worse than a person with knowledge and a buttload of hate. Once you hate something, it's hard to turn back.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I was reading the comments on one of these articles, and people were like, "Oh no, this can't happen. You're not sending my kid to some fucking country to fight a war, blah, blah, blah." And it's like, no, under this ruling, you can't even be deported to a different country.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Brazil is one of these countries. Once you turn 18, you are obligated by mandatory law to serve the military for the minimum of 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some laws that will save you from not going. And one of them is if you're the only male in your family, you won't be drafted. Females can be drafted depending how many there is in a family. There's only one, you won't be drafted. There's two, depends. If there's a male and a female and another female, one of the females might be drafted. If there's three females, one of them will be drafted regardless. They'll probably pick the oldest, starting from there. But once you turn 18, you haven't done anything that you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
In a country like Brazil, I can't compare it to the United States, because in the United States, the differences are astronomical. People say, oh, the age is the same thing. No, we got socioeconomics, we got politicians, we got bills. How much you get paid in a country like Brazil, and all the other details. Military pays better than regular jobs, yes. But if you have a degree, then you make more than most of the military personnel in some government positions, not most. But you don't have a degree, you're 18. You're still planning what to college. You don't know what to go to college, but now you have to go to the military. And if a war breaks out, which a war hasn't broken out with Brazil since the Germans decided to invade them, and Brazil retaliated the most brutal way in history. This is not even in the books. You had to find an old military Brazilian guy that was active and on duty and at the places where the Germans decided to invade, so he can tell you what their response and their answer to the Germans, what they did to the Germans to tell them, if you come back here, we will finish this war for every other country in the world.
Mhm.
But if you don't want to be drafted, you don't want to go to the military, you don't have a choice. You still have to go. But now you're there, you're training, and you hate every single moment of it for the next 2 years. Like I said, unless a war breaks out, Brazil doesn't go to war. United States goes to war. What happens? United States makes a phone call, calls Brazil. Brazil now has to send a boatload of soldiers to whatever country United States is fighting against. You're not. You weren't drafted for this war. You were drafted for military personnel to protect your country, and now you're traveling to an unknown country with a bunch of people that speak unknown language to fight a war that's not even yours or your country's. So
No,
it gets a little tricky when you want to draft people into the service.
that's the thing that some military guy said in that article. He said if you take or if you get drafted the way we do it here in the Netherlands, you cannot be deployed in a different country. Unless the Netherlands would get attacked, then you have to fight a war. Otherwise, not.
Yeah, I understand your point of view. It's actually pretty good, at least to avoid joining other people's wars. But Brazil and United States, they have a politician economical thing. Brazil owed their money. United States wants the money back. They don't have it. So they go, you know what? Send me, 500,000 soldiers to this place and we'll take out a chunk of your debt.
Hmm.
It's the
Okay.
worst thing I ever heard, but that's what goes on.
And what would your thoughts be on this, Marty?
Well, I, for one, it's very hard for me to say this because I have infinite respect for the military. I think everybody should have infinite respect for the military, but
Mhm.
a conscription draft is a flawed concept because sure you get your numbers, but not everybody is made for that. And that's just a simple fact. Not everybody is made for the stress. Not everybody is made for the act of taking a human life or made for living with the fear of having their life taken. And what you produce from a conscription draft is a larger army of lower quality. When it comes to military, Sun Tzu, I go back to Sun Tzu. He fought off the nation of Wu with an army 1/10 the size of the nation of Wu. When it comes to militaries, quality over quantity. And when you institute a conscription draft, you are increasing its size but lowering its quality. And to force those horrors on people is very distasteful to me. When it's a choice, they are at least prepared for it. They at least in their own mind believe that they are ready for that and are a better crop of people to do those things that other people may not be ready to do.
Alrighty. Um, yeah.
No, like I said, even
What
if
about having everybody have like basic training though?
Well, in terms of defense, I would like to see a mandatory, say, ROTC course in colleges and even high schools, where you get your basic knowledge of weapons training, your basic knowledge of physical training. A simple basic knowledge for purposes of defense can go a long way. But in terms of a conscription draft for foreign wars, not so much. Or any forced war. If we needed a home defense security force, like, say, they need with the IDF in Israel, yes, basic training, mandatory, and a forced defense force would be required. But with nations like the United States, even the Netherlands, kind of far removed from the shit, as it were, you don't need a military that is forced to fight. But yeah, I'm 100% in favor of a basic training for an emergency purpose, emergency purposes such as shit hitting the fan in terms of a foreign invasion.
Yeah, or the invasion coming from within.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
that would be like that thing I shared with you earlier, Smirkers, about the 5 soldiers.
yeah,
Remember the first one on the list? That's what happened. He went for his 2-year mandatory military training. He went back home. There was no war, and when he was from Finland, and when his country got invaded by the Russians, he decided to do his part in protecting his country, and he took the rifle, a couple cans of soup, climbed a tree, and kept shooting Russians until they decided that
oh yeah,
they
White
lost
Death.
too many. Yes, White Death.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. His country did not have war. Somebody brought war to them,
Hmm.
and as a result, one single guy decided to wipe out a good chunk of the Russian military, or actually Soviet Union at the time.
Hmm.
And if you're talking about that kind of draft, being drafted so you can learn, practice, serve the military if you want, or after your mandatory time is over, go back home and start your own life,
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. Yeah.
then fantastic. But again, you might still get people that will hate it. There's
Yeah.
always a chance you're going to find someone that doesn't want to be there, someone that had whatever reason. I mean, we're talking about somebody that could hate the military because now he can't see his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Some kind of stupid crap that I don't understand, and honestly, I just don't try.
Hmm. Alrighty. Um, kind of running out of questions here. Marty, help me out, or Jess?
Well, if you want to think of a question while I shill for the charities again, that would be an ideal situation. My buddy Mark here put in the description box three amazing charities: the Gary Sinise Foundation, which does great work with veterans; the VA, which is seriously underfunded by the United States government and does loads of help with people; and the Wounded Warrior Project, which is infinitely important to anybody who has experienced severe trauma due to war. Three amazing charities. If you just give $1, just anything to help these people.
Cool.
Absolutely, I'm right behind them. I don't donate as much as I would like to because I honestly don't have that kind of spare money laying around. I help what I can. I talk to old soldier buddies. Sometimes we'll visit some PFWs, meet some of the younger version of us, ones that come home, meet the families. Unfortunately, got to tell the friends of the family that something happened. And I've been through that. I walked with friends to friends' house that didn't make it back. It's It's just one of the worst feelings you can have. So we visit the VFWs around. We sit down, we talk to the younger soldiers, see how they're doing, see if they truly need help. Because soldiers normally don't open to other personnel, but they tend to talk to other soldiers a little easier.
Hmm.
And that's what we try sometimes. We'll sit down, play a little chess, ask them how it was, how they're doing, what kind of help did they look for. They're looking for help on jobs, or they need some help with prescription, some psychological conversations. They want to just chitter chatter until the teeth fall off. Anything that will make them feel more welcome and a little bit better than they were 5 minutes before. And yes, soldiers, most of the soldiers do need at least someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. My computer crashed, so I had to duck out for a second. But I'm back on my phone.
All right. Oh, that's one of the questions I had. Like about job opportunities for veterans and how hard that can be.
I
Because
think these
I'm
days,
assuming that a lot of people just assume that once you get back from a war, you're like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, totally fucked in the head because of it.
it's not exactly perceived that way. Even I mean, I still work. You know, and we don't get military personnel at my job because it's a low level job. It's just easy work. There's nothing to it. People don't want the job I do. Young kids want the job I do because they wanted something, they want to learn something, and then move on.
Hmm.
Military personnel sometimes are promised numerous things and it won't be accomplished,
Yeah.
which I call it the politician's conversation. I promise, but that's as far as it goes. I promise. Doesn't mean I'll comply.
Hmm.
Well,
And
well, one of the biggest problems facing at least American veterans, I'm not 100% certain of the implications elsewhere, but probably the single biggest problem affecting veterans besides the mental health issues in
Hmm.
America is homelessness, because, well, that is a direct result of the mental health issues where they can't necessarily find work outside of what they did. This is why a lot of servicemen and women will re-enlist after their term is up, because it's what they've done. It's a guaranteed paycheck, and it keeps them working. However, when that runs out, re-entering society is a lot like re-entering society for a prisoner, and they can't fully adjust. They have to live with, again, the things that have happened, and they can't fully 100% reintegrate into society. And this affects them in ways where they can't find jobs, they can't pay their bills. I've seen several documentaries where servicemen and women have their husbands and wives have left them. They've lost access to their children simply because of things like PTSD pardon my stutter, and an inability to reintegrate and get jobs and sustain a life after war.
yeah, it's terrible, and which is why I try to help as much as I can. But my help is not financial. I'm not made of money. All I can do is have conversations and give advice on how they should perceive on any matter. If they need to talk and ask me a question, I'm always up for questions. But answering questions and giving advice, it only goes so far.
Hmm.
Somebody has to step in and give them the guidance and psychological treatment, give them the kind of conversation they need to perceive these things. I mean, you come back from war or just getting out of the military. First of all, the set of rules are completely different. For military, you got time to get up, you got time to sleep, you got time to do laundry. You know, you once you get out of that, you don't have time for anything. You got all the time in the world. It doesn't work that way. That's the first thing that people need to understand. Military are trained for time management. And once you get out of that, you don't have any time management. What do you got? You got to get up. And then you start thinking what you want to eat. And then you go to the kitchen, you make a decision, or you just stare at the fridge. So these adaptations take time and sometimes don't even get accomplished. And then, of course, you got all the memories if you went to war. How much do they really affect you? Do they let you sleep? Lack of sleep is one of the biggest problems soldiers have. Because once they can't sleep, and when they can sleep, they don't want to sleep. Because they know that the one thing's going to pop in mind, it might be one thing that happened.
Yeah.
And that brings up to what Marty was talking about, you know. They can't hold a job. They can't keep the family together. The family abandons them. They're suffering PTSD because PTSD causes a ridiculous amount of problems. And it's not because, you know, they're stressed. They look angry or they look nervous or they look crazy. And it's the fact that that memory is just there. It doesn't go anywhere. So it drives people a little crazy. And because they're driving a little crazy, they can't relax. And if they can't relax, they can't sleep.
Yeah.
And people that don't sleep don't function very well. And if you have that memory on top of the no sleep, then you really don't function at all.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the first of all, I'd like to shill for my favorite author, a guy by the name of Richard A. Gabriel. He wrote a book called No More Heroes, and I've read it several times. It's one of the reasons why one of the many reasons why I have so much respect for our servicemen and women. It delves deeply into the psychological effects and all these various rituals that many civilizations throughout history have had to help their warriors deal with the horrors. And this our human biology, our human fragility has not changed in the past 1,000 years enough to delete these effects that we see in our modern day warriors. And to I'll give you an example. The Jews, we can read about this in the Bible, and it's their law. If you touch a human body, you are not allowed. You are considered unclean. You are not allowed to interact with members of the community until after 5 to 7 days of a purification ritual. And because of this, on the surface, this just looks like, you know, spooky superstitions. Those tired, outdated superstitions with their magic water and their rituals. But if you delve deeper, you see a ritual where an entire army is forced to spend time with each other, because since everybody there is unclean, the only ones who can help them without becoming unclean themselves are the other members of this army. So while they're washing each other, while they're performing these rituals, they can talk. You know, Chaim, who I've known my entire life, is now dead. And, you know, you have time to process this. You have time to understand what had happened. You have time to understand that you just had to spend, you know, hours a day for 6 months hacking people to death. Because war in ancient times was up close and personal. And contrary to what movies will tell you, it wasn't one stab or one sword slash and the guy falls down and rolls out of camera. No, you had to physically hack human beings to death. Yeah. And this ritual definitely was a huge contributing factor to a lot of the psychological easing of back into the community that the Jewish people had. And we don't get a lot of that these days. We don't get a lot of the help that these effects have had on these people handled. Sorry, I was ranting. Sorry. My apologies.
No problem.
I didn't see
pretty
anything
good.
wrong.
Yeah, my relative also said about, we're sending these 18 to 21-year-old guys and girls to the battlefield, and once they're there, they have like enormous stress levels and adrenaline running through their bodies, and suddenly they have a purpose in life. And then when they come back, yeah, the sense of purpose is kind of lost. And because you've been ramped up on adrenaline all this time, your body starts craving it as well. And then you have to deal with all the shit from the wars that you had to go through. And so I guess, and there's just not enough help for these people. Kind of pisses me off. I guess my relative got lucky by becoming a fireman because he has a sense of brotherhood there, and the adrenaline stuff.
Yeah, that is another thing. When I wish I could remember where I read this, but there was outlined a series of 10 things that would help a soldier or a warrior more easily deal with the effects of war, and one of these things was continued interaction with their fellow warriors, and that is another thing that we don't get a lot these days in our fighting men and women, is they don't get to sit down and feel with the people who understand, because you can put a veteran from World War II in the same room with a veteran from Iraqi freedom, and they're going to have a lot of shared experiences. They're going to both understand the sound of armor rolling through. They're going to understand the shock of explosions going off. But their experiences are not going to be the exact same. But if you take a soldier from Iraqi freedom and another soldier from Iraqi freedom and sit them down, they're going to know that they're going to be on the exact same page and be able to share and feel and work through the same exact situations that both of them had together. Whereas in modern times, when somebody leaves the battlefield and they go home, one guy is in Anaheim and the other is in Tallahassee. They're never going to talk again, and they're rarely going to get that same connection that they would have had otherwise in ancient times, or even in medieval times, where your comrades in arms are your next door neighbor and the guy right down the street.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. Oh, there's a scene from Tour of Duty. Fucking tears me up every time, man. When the two guys are calling each other, but kind of fucked up, just talking about their lives, and both of them tearing up as well. Fucking gets me every time.
Yeah, I try to avoid military dramas. Let me rephrase that. I typically only watch military dramas at home, alone, in the dark, underneath my blankets, because I usually end up crying like a baby.
Yeah. It's also like, I guess I've always been interested in wars and stuff, but it was until I had this real life friend that I started to get interested in the veterans of these days, and the shit they have to go through. And usually watch a lot of stuff with him as well. And when I make a weird face, he'll explain stuff to me, so I can sort of try to understand a little bit better. even though I could probably never come close to really understanding.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I remember the first time I called Gunny sir, he said, "No, no, no, no. I was a grunt. I was a guy on the ground. I'm not a sir." I'm all, "You served. I didn't. That makes you a sir."
Hmm.
And I mean, I do refer to everybody as sir, but if somebody asks not to be called a sir, I'll kind of respect that. I am incapable of not calling someone who served sir or ma'am. My brain doesn't register them as an equal. They have put their life on the line for the betterment of humanity, and that will make them infinitely better than me in every way I can imagine. They will always be sir and ma'am.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because people normally call me sir because of my age, not because I was in the military. So I was gonna ask about that, and that clarifies that. 'Cause I was like, he's calling me sir. Did Smirkus tell him how old I am? And I'm thinking, but no, no, now I know because
Well, it's
service.
also common decency to call people sir and ma'am or miss or missus, whatever.
Well,
Well,
yeah, but that's something.
It
That's
should be
something
anyway.
from my days. This new generation, my brother's in his 20s. My grandkids are, teenagers.
Hmm.
And there's a huge gap between generations, just between me and my siblings. And my brother will not say "sir" unless I'm twisting his arm. He won't call me "sir" or anybody else "sir" unless he considers you, over 100. He was like, "Oh, sir," but he does it with the sarcasm. There's no such thing as calling people "sir" as in a respect for age or respect for the service, like Marty's talking about.
Hmm.
And I feel sad that we can't even get them to respect an elder.
Well, I guess I'm kind of one of those people because I call everyone dude.
well, I being raised in a military family, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. That was programmed into me. I mean, everybody, as I said, everybody is sir and ma'am unless they specifically request otherwise. However, when it comes to a serviceman or woman, they are sir and ma'am forever. It's just I will never see them as my equal.
Yeah.
I mean, I still call other person or other military personnel "sir" and "ma'am," you know, because I know how it is to be on the other side of the fence. I respect them. I find soldiers that, for crying sakes, I am happy to meet soldiers that are older than I am. And when I meet them and I call them "sir," they're like, "Yeah, I don't call me sir just because I'm really old." I'm like, "No, I call you sir because we served in the same dirt in the same waters. That's a call of respect. I also call you sir because you are older than me, and I should respect anybody older than me as sir. I was brought up that way. But first of all
Mhm.
comes military.
By the way, talking about Gunny, he's running really late.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to call it in a little bit because I have to be up in 5 hours. I don't know about Marty.
I have to be up in 6,
Oh,
but
darn.
I mean, we're shilling for some really good charities here. We're talking about things I'm passionate about. I'll be a little tired tomorrow. I'm not too worried about it. But I mean, if you got to go to bed, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah, it's 6 a.m. here,
Yeah, no,
almost.
I'm gonna have to crash in a little bit, and I don't know how tired this smirk is because he stayed up the longest compared to the time frame there.
Hmm.
I mean, if it was 4 in the morning, you'd be talking to a man snoring on the other side of his microphone.
Unless you just woke up.
Yeah, that would be a different case scenario. But no, I've been up since 5 a.m. It's midnight. I worked most of the day. I just had a 12-hour shift today because I'm trying to teach people that are in their 20s how to use a register, and I'm supposed to be the one that's outdated.
Yeah, no shit.
They're, you know, sometimes I just want to smack them in the back of the head and tell him to give me 20.
Fuck, you
But
should.
these are different days.
Yep.
Can't smack kids around and tell them to do 20 or run a block or something like that. No. Now you have to talk nice to them. Like, I don't know. Or maybe I'm just too old.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to call it here then. And I was so hoping that Gunny would
Yes,
show up.
I
I've been waiting. I've been needing to talk to him
thank you very
and
much
him
for
to
the
me. So
invitation. I was,
Well, that's
looking forward to meet Gunny because, you talked a lot about him and Marty just complimented the guy some more. So, yeah,
oh yeah, nice
I have
guy,
a
nice guy.
certain,
Once you get past the fact that Hitler is his avatar, I mean, you'll absolutely love Gunny.
a what?
Yeah, he uses Adolf Hitler as his avatar. It's kind of like a joke. A few times I've had to explain to people, hey, it's just a joke. Once you get past his appearance, he's a very, very nice, very lovable guy, and nobody has said difference. Yeah, and nobody has said different once they got to know him.
well, I did link
Yeah.
his Twitter in the down there. So yeah, go check him out.
Yeah, no.
To
But no,
any,
it was good. Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad I was able to show up and we have this little conversation. Marty, I'm glad you showed up too. Meeting
I
was
wouldn't miss this for the world.
pretty good.
we're gonna do this again.
Your insight is actually quite good. I like talking to people that actually know something besides Twitter and some young kids full of tattoos with no IQ. So yeah, I'm glad there are people out there that actually use the brain to think instead of trying to find different ways to take a picture.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, I was gonna say to any veterans that may listen to this now or in the future, I would also like to thank you for your service.
And I'm a personnel from the military, and I still thank everybody for their service.
Sweet. Well, thank you all for showing up, and we'll do this again. See you all next time.